Welcome to another episode of Full Build Friday, where I try to build a character from a comic, game, or similar source using the baseline rules of Pathfinder Second Edition and the Path Builder app.
Welcome back to Full Build Friday. The usual guy is feeling a little jet lagged, leaving it to your old buddy Blue to fill in for this video, which features a requested build for Edward Kenway from Assassin's Creed Black Flag. But before we set sail to serve as a scurvy scourge of the Seven Seas, we need to map out some build goals. Our humble hero was born to simple farmers but was discontent with that life, becoming a well-known troublemaker. Even during these early years, he demonstrated considerable perceptive abilities. Looking for a life of adventure, he became a privateer but soon turned to piracy. This new lifestyle led him into a conflict between the Assassin Order and the Templars, though his allegiance remained shaky. As a pirate, he served as the captain of the Jackdaw, renowned for his skill at the helm, but even more for his ability with the blade. In addition to being a master swordsman, he wielded a variety of other weapons, including pistols, blowguns, knives, and axes, and often used these weapons in concert with each other. Like many assassins, his fighting styles relies on countering his enemy's attacks before making his own. Life upon the waves has made him a capable climber, swimmer, and freerunner who has also demonstrated considerable expertise in stealth and pickpocketing. With our course charted, it's time to weigh anchor, hoist the mizzen, and set sail! Edward uses the human ancestry, but gets a little interesting with the use of the Nephilim heritage, which is meant to represent his descent from the Isu and doesn't carry a ton of weight in his build. Case in point, he takes the human unconventional weaponry ancestry feat at first level so he can wield the Aldori dueling sword or just dueling sword to represent his cutlasses. He reaches to his distant past with the farmhand background, which makes him trained in athletics and gives him assurance in that skill. It also makes him trained in farming lore, as much as he would rather not be. Not being terribly familiar with this character, I turned to the Monster Monday Discord for suggestions on a class and we settled on Swashbuckler in a fairly close race. It felt as though an argument could be made for any style, but given that Kenway was taught about pirating by Blackbeard himself, Braggart made the most sense to me, allowing our natural ne'er-do-well to scare certain sailors. His fighting style nixed a lot of his first level class feats, which led to using You're Next as his first class feat, serving mostly mechanical means rather than matching his abilities. As a swashbuckler, he gets a decent range of skills, being trained in acrobatics, deception, intimidation, stealth, survival, and thievery. Since the swashbuckler is a dex-based class, he'll focus on that as his primary skill, which is why he picked up the dueling sword for his cutlass. The scimitar lacks the finesse trait. Strength is a good secondary choice to aid his climbing, jumping, and swimming, as well as giving him some extra damage. Charisma and wisdom are of the similar values, providing him with intimidation and perception respectively. Right off the bat at second level, Edward takes the pirate dedication. This is probably one of the more situational archetypes out there, but it works nicely for this particular character, with the boarding assault being a really fun way to enter the fight if you manage it, and calling to mind some of the flashy ways you can enter the fray in Assassin's Creed. Climbing is an important aspect of these games, so Combat Climber felt like a must-have for Edward and will be expanded upon as we continue the build. For his third level, he uses breath control for his general feat to aid him when he has to go down in the diving bell. He also gains a stylish trick as a swashbuckler, which will be steady balance to aid him in moving across the booms and spars of the ships. For his first skill increase, he bumps Intimidation to Expert. At fourth level, he takes up Twin Parry since he does have a tendency to dual-wield his weapons, and this will increase his armor class, making it more likely for foes to trigger his opportune riposte and get off an encounter. Then, to match his Combat Climber, he takes Underwater Marauder so that waves won't weigh him down in a scrap, which feels appropriate for a pirate. A common fantasy regarding pirates as explored by several media is about freedom and adventure, and fitting that into the fifth level is Scion of Many Planes. This grants him the Muse-touched lineage, which will give Edward a bonus on checks to escape to match this idea. He applies his skill increase to acrobatics, boosting it up to expert. You have to take 2 pirate feats before you can take another dedication, and at 6th level, Edward can wrap that up in one go. Broadside Buckos lets him work with his crew from his class feat, while Rope Runner, as his skill feat, gives him a guaranteed climb speed, but has a bit of overlap with Combat Climber otherwise. At 7th level, he takes the Thorough Search to bolster his perception abilities, as while the Swashbuckler gets up to Master in Perception, it still feels a touch low. His stylish trick is Intimidating Prowess, because getting that extra edge on intimidation checks is always handy, which is also why he uses the skill increase to become a master in intimidation. Twin Parry gave Edward a defensive means of taking advantage of his dual weapon style, but at 8th level, he'll take Dual Finisher to give him a more offensive way of doing so, pulling off executions against multiple foes at once. Battle Cry is completely mechanical. This lets him potentially start combat with panache by demoralizing an enemy when he first rolls initiative. 9th level is surprisingly big. It grants him Exemplar Finisher to remove the demoralize immunity an enemy has, but it also has an Ancestry feat, which he will spend to take Multi-Talented. This in turn allows him to take the Gunslinger Dedication and follow the way of the Drifter since he tends to wield his sword and a brace of pistols. This archetype will make him trained in society, and he will increase his stealth to Expert. The build will start exploring his new Gunslinger archetype at 10th level with basic shooting for quick draw as he resembles actual old school pirates where they carry multiple single shot pistols that they draw fire drop on repeat. This feat helps the style of combat, though the issue always lies with having runes on your weapons. Catfall as his skill feat is a fantastic fit for a fearsome seafarer since leaping from insanely high places without taking any damage is a hallmark of the Assassin's Creed games that even I've heard about under my rock. Befitting a wide-ranging pirate, Edward takes a home in every port as his 11th level Ancestry feat with a much more literal port. He takes a skill increase to Stealth to become a master in it. At 12th level, he follows up basic shooting with advanced shooting to take Sword and Pistol, making him more efficient in wielding these weapons in accord, particularly in potentially allowing him to strike with his sword and then not provoke reactive strikes when he makes a pistol strike. Then he grabs Swift Sneak since he's a master in stealth and is theoretically supposed to be an assassin. In what will be his last Nephilim Ancestry feat, he takes Celestial Magic at 13th level, and I know magic isn't really a thing in Assassin's Creed, but the options of Revealing Light and Sure Footing fit nicely with the character, with the former in particular helping to demonstrate his advanced perception abilities. Coming in a little late, he will also become a master in acrobatics. With his 14th level class feat, Edward can take Slinger's Readiness to get into the fray. With this, just by rolling initiative, Edward can demoralize and draw 2 weapons. Then, he also gets to Stride as a free action on his first turn. This may work against the boarding assault every now and then, but this has a more general use. We'll continue the trend of action compression at this level with Kip Up as his skill feat, letting him stand from prone as a free action. Rather than taking a general feat at 19th level, this build takes Shadow Mark so that Edward can effectively mark and stalk a target, much like an assassin should. A skill increase makes him a legend in intimidation, which he can use to take Scare to death with his stylish trick, which as always is a feat that is just too much fun for me to pass up on. At 16th level, he takes Reflexive Riposte as counters are far more common in that game than I feel like our single reaction per round would allow. This helps alleviate that only marginally. Edward already has a bonus on escape checks, but Slippery Prey as his skill feat reduces the multiple attack penalty for his escape checks, providing some sweet synergy for a slick sailor. Given that Edward is a captain, I actually don't feel too bad about him taking Heroic Presence as his Ancestry feat at 17th level, letting him command, bolster, and maybe bully his buckos. He increases Stealth to Legendary with this level's skill increase. I think it's a little silly, but I wanted to play into Edward being a pirate and also having a focus on intimidation, so at 18th level, he takes Walk the Plank. This lets him control where an enemy moves, but that requires him to critically succeed on his check and not have that success diminished by the fact that it has the incapacitation trait. Like I said, it's iffy, but I think the ability is a lot of fun and just a little too thematic for me to pass up. Then, for his skill feat, he'll take Legendary Sneak since he has that Legendary in Stealth. I wasn't too concerned about speed in this build with Edward's Vivacious Speed, but either way, I had him grab Fleet for his 19th level general feat to let him climb, jump, and swim just a little bit farther when he doesn't have that increase. His last skill increase will apply to acrobatics to make him a legend in it. In my eyes, Panache Paragon is a pretty easy choice at 20th level for his final class feat, but I always like the quickened options. I do think it works nice with his other feats and abilities. Battlecry can let him start with panache, while Into the Fray can let him start with weapons drawn. Thus, he can charge in, fire a shot, drop his pistol, and then make a finisher against a hopefully off-guarded enemy. Depending on how far he had to move, he likely still has 2 actions remaining, meaning that he can tumble through or demoralize and then still quick draw. Tons of action compression plus quicken can make for a crazy opening gambit. Then, as a skill feat that's taken mostly for flavor reasons, he takes up Predict Weather, which is very important skill for a pirate captain to have out in the sea. Obviously, this is a build that would benefit greatly in a free archetype game, taking many of the options it already has. Honestly, the main thing that a free archetype would do is free up Edward to take options such as Tumble Behind, Finishing Follow-Through, Dazzling Display, Parry, and Riposte. Aside from more Gunslinger feats, I'd consider taking a Rogue Dedication. That would mainly be handy for options like Skill Mastery, but also has some nice stuff like Dread Striker and Sneak Attacker. But with that, our voyage has come to an end. It's time to disembark and check our haul. Edward Kenway is a Nephilim human swashbuckler of the braggart style and the farmhand background, though he swiftly left these humble beginnings for a life of adventure and the sea, reflected in his pirate dedication. His abilities of perception come through his thorough search feat as well as revealing light, granted through his celestial magic feat and reflecting his descent from the Isu. He favors the sword as seen with unconventional weaponry, making him proficient with the dueling sword, but wields a variety of weapons. Pistols are a notable callout, and he wields them more efficiently using the Gunslinger dedication, being able to quick draw after loosing a shot to ensure that he remains armed and able. As a man of sea and ships, he has breath control, underwater marauder, and combat climber, as well as rigging running to make him more capable at traversing his preferred environments. His investment in stealth and its feats bring him more in line with the traditional talents of the assassins. From more of a general mechanics perspective, Edward uses the swashbuckler's opportune parry and riposte to counter the attacks of his enemies and deliver devastating strikes in return. Capable with cutlasses and casual with cannons, this canny and cowl-covered corsair cows curs and causes chaos conspicuously conflicting with his cunning contemporaries. As always, you can check out the blog for a breakdown that includes item suggestions and fuller exploration of the build's use in a free archetype game. That, along with the Monster Monday Twitter and Discord, are linked in the description below. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic Friday.